Hey everybody, it is Tasha Renee and welcome back to our 30 Days of Juneteenth celebration. That's right, I'm going to keep it going with day 4. So let's recap the first 3 days real quick. The first day was on June 19th, which I did a 3-part series dedicated to Juneteenth. Saturday, I talked about the 30-day format, and on Sunday, I revealed my resources for Juneteenth, as well as announced the theme for this week, which is We Familiar. And the whole theme of this week is just to take some very notable names in history and just find some facts about them you may or may not know. And when I mean notable names, I mean the ones that they talked about every year in Black History Month when we were in school. Yeah. We go on talk about them people this week and those figures, I should say, and see what interesting facts we could find. So, we can't talk about familiar or notable figures or names without discussing Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. So let's get into it. Do you guys know that his first career choice was not activism? He was actually studying to be a pastor because his father was a pastor and so was his grandfather. His grandfather was a pastor from 1914 to 1931 at the Ebenezer Baptist Church in Atlanta. Then his father took over, and then in 1960, that's when Dr. Martin Luther King had finally got his chance and decided to be a co-pastor. Yeah. So how does a man go from studying to be a pastor to activism? Well, when he went to college in Boston, he met his wife, Coretta Scott, and she was the one, rumor is, that convinced him to get into activism. Now, let's talk about how people portrayed him, because everyone thinks he was just so loved and he was so wonderful when he was alive, and that was not true, y'all. Do you guys know that they wiretapped his hotel rooms? Every hotel room he went to, the government was listening in. They had bugged the rooms. They had the wiretap on the phone. He wasn't working with nobody. They were spying on this man. Do you guys also know that the first assassination attempt on him was not when he got shot outside the hotel? Sis got another event for y'all. So on January 30th, 1956, his house was bombed. This was in retaliation to the Montgomery bus boycotts. After the laws were changed, people ain't like it. So they started going after some of the other figures and groups that were responsible for putting the boycott together, which included Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Yeah, they bombed his house, children. Did you guys also know he was not as well received by the public as y'all thought he was? So, the Watts riots. After they happened and some time had passed, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. went out there to try to put a peaceful protest together. And y'all know they booed him? They booed him. And it wasn't because they hated him as a person. It was just like, look, bruh, the peaceful protesting ain't working. We tried it. Nope. So that quote that you guys may have seen going around the internet where he says that, the riots are the language of the unheard, going to Watts was what sparked that. Yeah. Now, let's get into some positive stuff. Ooh. So do you guys know that at the age of 35, he was the youngest man to win the Nobel Peace Prize? Did you guys know that? Nope. And he took the money from it. So when you win the Nobel Prize, you get $35,000. Well, a little bit over that. And so he took that $35,000 and he donated it to other organizations and, other people that were a part of the civil rights movement to keep the movement going. And last but not least, on April 23rd, 1965, he went to Boston and was taken to Roxbury, where he was the first person ever to lead a civil rights march in the Northeast. So, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was not just a man of the South. He was on the West Coast. He was in the North. And he was probably on the East Coast, too. He was not as loved as people thought he was. There were more attempts on his life than a little bit. But even through all of the hatred and the attempted assassinations, he still turned out to be an amazing man. I hope this guy's, inspired you all to read up a little bit more about the work that he did. And I will see you guys tomorrow for day 5, where we will be talking about another notable figure in history. Good night.